This is another CQ Blind Hams podcast.
Well, greetings everybody. This is John, KD8PC, and this is a follow-up demo, if you will, or an adjunct, or a companion piece, whatever you want to call it. And this is using the FTM100 by Yaesu in the PDN, which stands for Personal Digital Node, PDN mode, and also using it as an access point for connecting to Wires X rooms through your FTM100 using an HT, such as the FT70. If you haven't listened to my original demo / tutorial or whatever on the FTM100, I advise you to do that. One misnomer I made in that particular demo, a key that I call the mode key, because that's exactly what it is. It's the fourth button from the left on the front panel, is actually marked DX, Delta X-ray. So just be advised that. I'll mention the DX key, and that's actually what I always call the mode key. All right. First of all, if you have an older FTM100, you will probably need to update the firmware. And there's actually two updates you need to make. I think there's actually a third one. I can't remember for sure because it's been a while. But you need to update the radio itself, the main body of the radio, and then you also need to update the front panel, what they call the panel, the control head. And I think there's a third one. I don't know how accessible this process is because I had sighted help doing this. But we finally got the radio updated. Then you need to get your radio approved and given a Wires X room and node number. To get your radio approved, there's a menu choice. I had help with this, I don't remember what it is, and because it's not accessible to us. But you go into that menu and the radio displays your radio's personal ID number. You send that to Yaesu. There's a form on their website. You have to send that information in and you'll get approved for a room and be issued a node number and a room number. Now the room number is not really important because unless you have an HRI 200, which is Yaesu's little box that makes the FTM100 or 400 or the FT2 or FT3D HTs, any of those four radios can be used with an HRI 200 and a computer to become a Wires X node and room. You will be issued both a node number and a room number, though you'll need to put them both in when you start the software. You'll notice the room number and node number are 10,000 apart. For example, if your room number is 28592, which is the room number of our Phoenix Fusion group, the node number for that would be 18592. Okay, so once you've done all that and gotten your number and you've installed the Wires X software, and I think you also need to install the drivers or it installs them for you, a couple of points. First of all, in the case of the FTM100, Yaesu claims you have to have the SCU40 cable kit. Now, the SCU20 is the cable that comes with the radio. Has a multi-pin small DIN connector on one end, and is a little enclosure with electronics, the chips and stuff in it, and a USB connector on the other end. The only reason in this cable kit costs $80, but some wise person found out that you don't need that kit if you only want to work digital stations. Because one of the things that kit does is also it splits off and gives you a set of 1/8" phone jacks, one to go in your speaker out and one to go in your mic in on your computer. And even if you don't have this cable, you need something plugged into the mic input. I already had a mic plugged in, so it was not a problem. On a laptop, it doesn't seem to be a problem because usually laptops have built-in mics. So I didn't have to do anything on either computer. I'm running this software both on my Windows 10 tower here at home and on my laptop, which is running Windows 7. But anyway, without that cable, if you're trying to connect to a mixed room, and I'll get into this in a bit, you have to go into HRI mode instead of PDN mode. And I'll demonstrate how to get into both. Because in PDN mode, you will only be able to connect to a digital-only room. So you need to put your radio in HRI mode, which is a different command, and then you can connect to any room, whether it's a mixed room or not. Of course, if anyone comes in on analog, you won't hear them, but I don't know of any systems running analog anyway, so that $80 cable is not necessary. The SCU20 cable that came with your radio is perfectly adequate. So once you have the software installed and you run it for the first time, you will be in a combo box where you have to choose your port number, and it may find it, or you may have to go into Device Manager, and there is an option if you tab around to go into Device Manager and find your radio and find out what port it's in. So you need to make sure you have the right port selected. It will ask you for your node number and your room number. Fill them both out, and once you get the software up and running, you will be presented with a list of node or slash rooms that are on the air. And this is where it gets a little tricky. If you're just using your radio in direct mode, if you're using it in PDN mode, you can press and hold the DX key, putting your radio in wires X just as you would on a repeater, and press and hold the pound, type in the room number if you know it, press pound momentarily again, and it will connect just like it does on a repeater. But in HRI mode, which is what we'll be using most of the time, that doesn't happen because you lose most of the functionality from the radio itself. So in that case, you can press your AB band button, the very first button on the left. You'll get a lower beep, and then you will be in access point. At that point, if your frequencies are all correct and your radio is hearing your HT, you can then use your HT, go into wires X mode, and punch in a room number just as you would through a repeater. If you're not using it as an access point, if you're just using it in direct, what they call direct mode, there's several ways, and I'll show you those, to bring up the room you want using the computer. And it seems to be pretty accessible that way, but there's a few things you have to do. And I'm using NVDA as my screen reader. On my laptop, actually, I see more stuff on the screen if I use Window Eyes in Windows 7, which is interesting. But for the most part, I just use NVDA and do it. So let's do a little bit of, right now the radio is on, and I'm going to turn it off. Okay, it should be off now, and I'll just check by pressing the power button momentarily. And we hear nothing, so it's not powered up. Now, let's go into PDN mode first. All that requires is holding down the DX button, the mode button, which is the fourth one over, and turning the power on. Okay, we are now in PDN mode. I've been in access point. I now just push the AB button, that high beep you heard, and put it back in direct mode. Now I'm in direct mode. I can simply enter a room number, and I'll enter one that I know works because it's not a mixed room. So let's go. Okay, why did it do that? Oh, it did that because I don't have the software running yet. And I don't think it matters whether you turn the radio on first or you run the software first.
Ham radio software. Ham radio.
So let's go to the desktop.
Folder view list. Documents 24W. Wires X 4451.
And there's my wires X, so I'm going to run it.
Dialog. Graphic.
Now.
Documents all things F radio. RAD. Programmer. C. F. Row 1 column. Wires X row 1 column. Wires X. Pane.
Okay, we're seeing nothing right now.
File F. Submenu.
If I go to the connect menu.
Connect to T. Disconnect. D. Unavailable D.
Yeah, see, there's no, we're not connected to anything.
Connect. Wires X. Pane.
So let's go back to the radio. Now I should be able to press and hold the VX button, the DX button. There we go. Now let's enter a room number that I know will work in the straight PDN mode, which is 21335.
2020 wires X dialog ready edit.
Or if I'm in Michigan, and they actually, some of the guys that know me really well, they said, Herb, I think you're
There we go.
laptop
We're in.
there when you get home on a good microphone. So there you, whatever. But it's just stuff to keep us interested. It keeps me busy too. I do a little. I have a 7300 in ICOM in the camper. And I have a screwdriver, a big old.
I could change rooms.
On the back.
I'm gonna do this the easy way and disconnect.
I do a little FTM, so I don't do much.
Wires X dialog ready edit blank.
Okay, I use the computer. There we go. I use the computer to disconnect. I could have done it with the radio as well, but I wanted to disconnect from that room real quick. So that's one way. If you got rooms that you want to get into that are not mixed, that are digital only, it works perfectly well this way. What doesn't work this way, for some reason, I haven't figured it out yet, but I'm working on it, is I switched it to access point. And as you hear, I'm getting into my radio. KD8PC. So let's turn that down. But now I want to go into wires X with the HT. And for some reason it doesn't work. So if you're just using the radio in direct mode and you have rooms that you can connect to that are not mixed rooms, that are digital only, this works quite well. But for most of the connections, and to do what I like to do, you need to be in what they call HRI mode, which is normally, the Yaesu doesn't document this, but it's normally what you use when you're connecting through an HRI 200. But while we're still in here, let me just show you a couple things.
Lego 40,937,001. Lego FTM100. Lang. Lego 22,000 CQ UK 27.
Okay, now I've got up on the screen by routing my mouse to the list. It still is not allowing me to.
CLR button.
Well, let's do a clear.
Space pressed. Edit Lang. CLR button. Edit read only send button. Edit Lang. CLR button. Space pressed.
No.
Edit Lang.
I'm still in a. Apparently, I'm in a deal to send a QSL card of some kind, a digital card.
Lego 40,000 send CLR. A 027 plus room by first rate and East Chicago 3rd Kyoto 19.
But now I'm using my screen reader keys, moving line by line, which is the 7 and 9.
KT Koji 39,000 JM3 UDHND.
You can hear all these different things.
56. G1 UDL 1035. The Chico 12 lang /29 plus a.user ID DTMF call sign city state coup Fred MHZ SQL at long comment 14 W:08216/.
Now there's other stuff sprinkled in here because the one thing that this software does not let me do, apparently there are 4 panes up on the screen, and one of them is your bookmarks, and one of them is the complete list. And apparently I have that list up, but I can only see it with the screen reader cursor.
Indiana link 43,844,013 Indiana. What equals N:2700 position. Southeast link 43,000 equals Yaesu room. Yaesu PDN 43,369,000 Yaesu.
Anyway, you can see all these different rooms that I'm finding as I use the 7 and 9 key to go up and down by line on the screen.
Southwest USA 43 equals Florida room 43 downlink Fusion net 40,036 Ohio LM equals SAD of DFAJ set Kansas City PHFK the dark equals Illinois link 21,500. So
let's pick one of these. Now I'm going to press the NVDA key, which is the insert key, and the left mouse, the slash.
Room WM connect 21,335. Remember 25.
Okay, now it put me there. I don't know why.
Illinois link 21,000.
Well, that's what it said, but I'm still not there. I'm still showing WM Connect, which is what I connected to using the keypad on the radio. This is the part that I'm having trouble with, but usually if I can get into a list, and we'll just choose one of these bookmark lists.
Each position equals N:43.
Okay, I'm on that. And
Left click. Indiana link 43.
so now I should be able to connect to that just by right-clicking.
Context menu. Connect C.
Arrow down to connect.
Wires X. Lift Bluetooth. Wires X. Dialog ready. Edit. Blank.
And as far as I know, I'm connected to that room now. Now, I did not get the ascending tones. It told me that I was, because the radio is not in Wires X mode. If your radio is in Wires X mode, you hear those ascending tones just like you do when you're programming through a repeater. So, anyway, let's go ahead and disconnect from this. I'll show you one other way to connect to something.
File F. Submenu connect. Connect to T. Disconnect. D.
Okay, see, we are connected because the disconnect button is there, so I'm just going to go ahead and hit it. That's in the connect menu.
Wires X. List. Indiana link plus D.
So, the other way, of course, is to go in.
File F. Submenu connect. C. Connect to T.
Connect to.
X, list. Indiana link plus DTMF connect. Connect to T. Input ID dialog. Please input mode or room user ID which wants to be connected. Please.
And then Shift Tab once to get into the list.
Combo box collapsed. Edit. Selected 28,592.
Now,
28,592.
that's the last thing that I was connected to using this method. And there's others.
43,419.
That's another node here locally.
21,335.
There is the node that we were connected to before. So we can use that one. So all I have to do is either hit enter, which I think works most of the time, but it's more sure just to tab once.
OK button.
And hit space.
State Wires X list Indiana Linso plus DTMF ID 43,844 at 013 call/RM name Southeast link plus Indiana links.
Now it didn't seem to connect.
File F subview connect disconnect D unavailable D.
And see, it did not. I don't know why.
D.
Connect to.
Dialog, please in combo box 21,335. OK button. State Wires X list Indiana Linso.
Okay. When you know it. That way usually works, but it's not working right now. And I'm not sure why. Because I should be able to just go in.
View QS Wires X dialog ready edit blank.
So when you connect to it, you're taking it out of the room of West Michigan Connect and just going straight to the node. So if somebody else is probably on that repeater directly, you probably could talk to them, but you won't get the rest of West Michigan Connect because they can only connect to one person. So you take, when you connect to it, you take it out of the room, and it's just a node. That's my understanding of it. So. All right, buddy. Have yourself a good time down there. Enjoy that warm weather, and turn the fan on and blow as much of it up this way as you can. We'd appreciate it. Catch up with you later on. Have a good day. Always a pleasure. NA Jam.
There. I just used the radio to disconnect. I think. Let's make sure.
File F U connect and disconnect D unavailable D.
Yep, we're disconnected. So I did that by holding down the star key in Wires X mode. And let's take it out of Wires X mode. So I don't know why it wasn't letting me connect using the connect menu. It usually does. But of course, since I'm doing a demo, it had to act up. So anyway, that's another way of making a connection. Let's just try one more here.
File F U connect and disconnect D unconnect to T input ID combo box 28,592.
Now this room is a mixed room, so what's going to happen, it's not going to let me connect. I'll show you.
OK button. State Wires X list Indiana Linso plus DT Southeast link Indiana.
Well, it's not even trying to connect to that either.
File F submenu mode.
I give up.
Wires X list.
For some reason, it's not connecting with the connect menu. So the best way to use it in straight PDN mode is with the mic if you know the room number you want to connect to. Let's try connecting to 28592. There we go. And press the pound. See, I got an error because it is a mixed room, so it's not going to let me connect.
Plus DTMFID 43,844 Act 013 call/RM name is Southeast Link plus DTMF Indiana Linso plus.
But anyway, there you go.
PDN plus DTMF.
Oh, by the way, and if you're going to run this in the background, it's good to get out of it because once you get it talking, it refreshes and you keep hearing chatter at you. So it's another reason. So that's PDN mode. So now I'm going to take the radio out of PDN mode. You'll hear the computer lose contact with the radio. Let's turn off the radio. Okay, radio's off. Well, the computer didn't say anything. I think it will when I... Now that I'm going to hold those same two keys down. Again, the DX key and the power.
KD8PC -JOHN.
Yaesu PDN plus DTMFID 43,369 Act.
Okay, it's still showing the list of stuff, but I'm no longer connected. The radio is no longer connected to the software. So now let's turn the radio back off and go into what is known as HRI mode, and that's done by holding both the DX, which is the fourth key, and the GM group monitor, which is the next key. You have to hold both of them down at the same time, which is a little tricky because if you remember the explanation of the FTM100, there's little dots between each button. So it takes two fingers. You can't do it with one. You gotta fit two fingers there and turn the power on. Now we are in HRI mode, but it allows me to do a lot more. First of all, put it in direct mode. Now I should be able to do
File F new connect and connect to T disconnect D unavailable connect to T.
Let's go to connect to.
Combo box 28,592.
Let's try connecting to that.
OK button. Say wires X. View QSL wires X. Dialog ready. Edit. Blank.
Okay, we are now connected to the Phoenix Fusion room, which is where our local repeater is, and I can tell that. I know that the connection is there because I can turn up my analog radio in here, KD8PC. Well, maybe we're not connected because I'm not hearing the repeater come back, which I should.
File F sub new connect and disconnect D.
So chances are we are not in the. We are in the room, definitely, but we are not on the repeater for some reason. I was hoping to show you that.
Connect C submenu alt plus wires X. Dialog ready. Edit. Blank.
But now, let's take it out of access point and put it in direct mode. Now let's see if we can.
Blank. Lato port send CLR. A 027,000 plus room ID DTMF. First rate ND 12,000 plus split CQVK up 41 bottom up 41,491,001 up crosslink Belfast County UK up XL. Left click list Indiana Linso plus DTMF.
Whoops.
Southeast Link plus DT.
See, I just lost it. I clicked the mouse there. Now I'm.
Equals. Visit Indiana Linso equals plus 8.9. 50. The chip zip blank. G1UDL 650. KT top. CQVK 24,117.
Okay, let's try.
CQVK DTMFID 24,000.
Okay, now I should be able to connect to that room by right-clicking with the keypad.
Context menu. Connect C.
And connect.
Wires X. List C2020/wires X. Dialog ready. Edit. Blank.
And that's what it should always say. Dialog ready. Now I'm connected to whatever room this is. I think it's a VK room. So, and let's just, well, and
send CLR. Left click list CQVK DTMFID 24,000. File F new connect disconnect D.
We'll go ahead and disconnect from it using the keyboard.
Wires X list CQVK DTMFID 24,117. Act 0. File F new connect and disconnect D unavailable D.
Yeah, we're disconnected. So I should be able, that's another way to connect, like I say, is, and I can go through the,
File F U connect or check on the connect. Connect disconnect. D on connect to C input ID dialog.
Connect
D
to.
motor room use. Combo box collapse. 28,592.
let's try the club room again.
Wires X 20 wires X dialog ready edit blank.
And that time I just hit enter, which also works. You don't have to tab to OK. Hitting enter will work. And I should be on the Superstition room again, KD8PC. And we're not in the repeater, but I know we're connected to the room, KD8PC. So, even with without an HT, it's easy. But let's go back to the HT, because now let's go into Wires X and change the connection with the HT. So there we go. That's what should have happened before in PDN mode, but didn't. So let's go to whoop. There we go.
View QSM wires X dialog ready edit blank.
There we go. You heard the computer announce that there was a change, and I got the ascending beeps on the HT that told me there was a change. So now I'm in the Mid-Michigan room again. So there's a lot you can do, even though this software is fairly inaccessible. If you're more familiar with screen readers and how to move around and find your different panes and stuff, I have not figured it out, so maybe somebody else will. It's just unfortunate that Yaesu didn't make it more accessible. But anyway, I think I showed you about all that I can. And of course, to take the radio out of this mode, you do the same thing. You turn it off. Press the DX and the GM button.
KD8PC -JOHN.
And we're back in regular mode because we're in VFO-A.
B. Beat memory 006
There we go.
448 point.
Now I'm on the repeater, and you heard, if I key up KD8PC, you heard the other radio come on. It's not a fusion radio, so all I heard was the digital noise, but I know that I'm getting into the repeater. That should have happened when I was in the room, but didn't, because obviously the repeater is not in the room at the moment. Hope this has been of some help, and anyone have any questions, feel free to contact me, KD8PC7, Kilo Delta 8, Papa Charlie 7, @gmail.com, and hope to hear some more of you on Fusion and Wires X. I really like this mode. I'd like to see more blind folks getting into it, because it's really not all that expensive to get into. If you want to start with an FT70, which I would not recommend, because it's not the most accessible radio in the world, though it does work, and I can do the things I want to do with it. However, most of the things are not readily accessible. The FTM100 for right around $300, and then the speech board is $34, is really a good radio for VHF/UHF, regardless of the fact that it has System Fusion on it as well. And it's very accessible because the menus do not wrap, as I said in my other demo. And sometimes you even get helpful beeps, like in the PL menu. You actually get a beep at 100 hertz, which is the default. So just a lot of things like that make the radio very, very usable. And Fusion can be a lot of fun. And if you have no repeaters in your area on Fusion that are on Wires X, get the thing set up so you can use the Wires X software. It's a little limiting to us because there are probably things we could do that I just have not figured out, because the accessibility is not all that good, but it is certainly usable. And of course, with the HT, I can do anything through the HT that I could do through the radio on a repeater. I also should add that whether you use an HT or whatever, if you already have a hotspot that does YSF, if you enable that, you can then connect through your hotspot to reflectors, and you can do that in the same way as you connect to rooms when you're on a repeater or, in a wires X contact. You just simply put your radio into wires X mode and enter a reflector number. And many reflectors are bridged to Fusion rooms. So that gets you another way to get into those rooms without tying up somebody else's repeater. You do it right through your own hotspot. And you don't even tie up your computer. So anyway, everybody have a great time and hope to encourage some more of you to get on System Fusion. This is KD8PC 73.